Alright, the notes video that some of you have been waiting for. It is finished. I was trying to think of how many times have I actually read this book. So this is the Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, first American edition, October 1998. So I put this on my to-read list previously, announced it, and in honor of it, the 25th anniversary of this book, I decided to read it again. So I was thinking about it. I was like, the last time I read this book, I think I was in high school, and I was a junior or senior in high school because I identified with the character in this book named Filch. And Filch is like the groundskeeper. And at the time I was reading it, I was a lifeguard, and we had to enforce the rules. Like if a kid slips on a pool deck and breaks their head, like cracks their head open and die because I didn't enforce the rules, it's a really bad thing. And so I remember reading this and being like, well, yeah, Filch is a really great character if you have like a real life, like high risk position where you're enforcing rules and stuff. Like somebody could die if you don't do their, if the person doesn't do their job. So it was kind of it was a different reading experience, and I read it like of my own reading maybe once or twice, and then my mom, so I was approximately 5 or 6 years old when this came out in October 1998. This is the first edition. We got all of the books like when they came out, and sometimes we were in line waiting the day the books came out, and we'd be at Costco and get there and get the books before try and get, copies, 2 copies, one for me and one for my sister, that kind of stuff. But I was not a good reader. And when this came out, and I was, what was I, kindergarten or first grade? And so my mom read it to my sister and I, and then I think we went through it another time together. So that would mean, and then I read it 1 or 2 times when I was younger on my own, and then when I was older. So including the listen to from my mom or my sister or or my mom and I alternating passages reading it out loud, this would be like my 6th time. It's like going through consuming the book, that kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting remembering that my sister, this was my mom and my sister's choice for entering this family in my story. It was not my pick of a book. My sister really loved, like, she was kind of a really strong Christian, really into like church group and Bible group and stuff like that. And this book especially this book has really strong religious kind of over and undertones. Like there's a teacher who wears a turban and he's like a bad dude and stuff like that. And so it's like clearly kind of slamming Islam and Muslims and stuff like that. And so it really fit my sister's temperament, and especially the like firstborn male child being treated as king or the chosen one. And this was really the same as a bunch of literature kind of at the time in that way, and very much in line with Christianity. And so my sister really liked it, and a bunch of Christians I know really liked it, knew and liked this book. There are also people who are not Christians I know who like this book. And so I'm providing some context before I provide kind of like, well, I guess that was what was reading this was, I remembered a lot of the things from like the first time we went through this book, or my reactions from the first time through this book, or just kind of like, yeah. So like one was I even bookmarked some of the stuff to bring up. So shut up was used, and I got this book when shut up was still treated as a swear word or a swear term in this family. Like we couldn't use that till we were like double digits years old. And if we used it when we were as young as I was when this book was released, it was, let's say, in going through this book, I felt like it was a slap in the face because I was so young, and it was inappropriate terminology for my age group, right? The use of like shut up and stuff like that. It was like clearly not J.K. Rowling's target market. Or I was too young for some of the innuendos and word choice and concepts used. They were very maybe not appropriate for my age, kind of thing. But I had an older sister, and she's like 3 years older than me. So I got introduced to things at a younger age than a lot of the other people in the class, and I was not necessarily always a fan of it. And Harry Potter was one of those things. And it's not a book I would have chosen to read on my own, right? I only read it even this time because I still have it. I was like, let's see if it's any less later. And my dad didn't actually read the books. I don't know if he's gone through all of them, period, but he didn't read them. I think he read this one like when I was like, maybe when I was reading it for the last time before this time. And this time was October 2023. I'm filming this on Monday, 30 October 2023. And then let's see. The other thing I bookmarked this time was the turban and the Professor Quirrell thing. And yeah, it was an interesting thing to read. So back then, my sister was like top of class in reading, and I was like bottom of class in reading. And so reading books that my sister chose, right, we have very different tastes in like books and movies and stuff like that. And her excelling in reading and me really not, like, it means that I like to read things that I enjoy, and I didn't necessarily enjoy it, but I did hold on to the book. So I was like, watch it, Harry Potter, this thing my sister liked and I don't, be a really big hit down the road, you know, because when it first came out, it was kind of like, what is Harry Potter? So I was like, I'll hold on to the books because, you know, who knows, maybe Harry Potter will go big, and it did, and look, I still have the book. So I guess it's paying homage to me being a little smarty pants and being like, let me just hold on to the book to see if it goes big. And it went pretty big. Depending on one's perspective of success. It went big for the author, the people and the places that it's based on. So a lot of this imagery is something I gained a better appreciation for, or perhaps my notes this time is some of the places brought up in here are based on real places in Great Britain. And I have been to Scotland. I went to Scotland in July 2019, and I've been to some of the places that this book was based on. And so it was a little bit different reading because some of the passages, I'm like, oh my gosh, she is talking about blank in this, and she encrypts what she puts in the book. But there will be like a 5-page passage, and it's like a map. Like if you take this is this, and this is this, and this and this, you can take what she puts on the page and put it on a like physical map. It's in physical reality. These are the 5 things that were just mentioned over the past 5 pages. That kind of thing. So it was kind of interesting because I was like reading, I was like, this sounds like this thing in Scotland, and then I'd read the next thing and I'll be like, oh, which would be across the road there, and let me see, does she also bring this up? She does, but she encrypts it. So it's kind of an interesting thing. There's like cognitive mapping, and she does that in this book, but it took like finding the places that this book was written, like based on, was or like that were encrypted into it. It was kind of a greater appreciation for it didn't come out of the blue, right? She lived in Britain, saw a bunch of stuff, even incorporated like Glenfinnan Viaduct. It was like over a century older than Harry Potter or something like that. And it inspired her to such an extent for the Hogwarts Express scenes in the movies that they actually filmed at the place. So it's kind of a cool in that way. However, I would say the places on which this book and the books in this series are based have not been given the attention they deserve. All right, so as someone who is Scottish, and J.K. Rowling is not Scottish, right? She's English. I'm Scottish, English, and Irish. And that's something that rubbed me a little bit wrong this time was she likes to pretend that everything in the United Kingdom, which includes like, or included at the time of writing, like Ireland, England, Wales, Scotland, stuff like that, she takes from those cultures even though it's not hers, which is kind of like in America, the United States of America, a big no-no. That's what the slave owners did. But it's kind of the fuel and the backbone for this entire series. So it's kind of like, maybe as an adult now, approximately 31 years old, as opposed to approximately 5 or 6 years old, I gain a bit better appreciation to, maybe that's why I didn't like it and I still don't like it, is like, she doesn't necessarily respect the people, nor ask for consent to use the things that belong to other people, which my sister liked to steal things and take things without asking, and Harry Potter is quintessential my sister in that sense. I'm the kind of person that like, I don't like having my consent violated. And J.K. Rowling's not that person, right? She's the person who violates people's consent without their consent. So, in that sense, it's still, I'm not a fan, and very much not a fan of that temperament. But it was, I am happy I made the decision to go back and read this. And tomorrow, tentatively, book list for the books I've read January through October 2023, and this will make that list because I finished it in the time frame by the end of October 2023. So happy reading. I'm not pro Harry Potter, but I'm also not anti Harry Potter. It's just not my taste. That's how I would describe how I feel about this book and the series in general. It's just not my thing. But I have read it, and so in that sense, people who are like diehard Harry Potter fans do actually talk to me about it because I do have some idea of what they're talking about versus the people who have not read Harry Potter or read like it once, like my dad kind of thing. So I'm closer to my dad, but not quite my dad. And I'm definitely not my mom and my sister who've read them all like multiple times and like are diehard fans kind of thing. And for all I know, my sister reads it, every October, goes back and reads the first one or all of them or something like that. But yeah, those are my notes for this October 2023 reading of this October 1998 first American edition Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone by J.K. Rowling.